Grab your popcorn, kick back and relax, because it's time for some more Karnage. In today's video, we have another guide in store for you guys. It's going to be just basically a whole heap of tips for you guys on how to boom when you have very little gunboat energy. You can see my statue lineup only has 2 gunboat energy statues, and I've been booming with this for quite some time now. I do switch to this every now and again, but I've had a few people ask me now about how I do this, and I had one person in particular who really wanted me to do a video on it. So I thought, you know what a great opportunity, let's do a video on it. Let's try to cover as many points as we can. I do apologize if I've missed something. I tried to cover as many of the points as I possibly could, and I do feel like I have covered pretty much everything, or at least all the stuff that matters, like the main stuff. So I hope you guys enjoy this anyway. I'm going to try to upload this either Christmas Day or maybe the day before Christmas. I want to upload daily until Christmas, just as like a gift for being that time of year. That's my gift to you guys, I guess. So hopefully I actually managed to do that. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoy the video, and let's jump into it. So you can see on this guy's base, he has a shock launcher. Assuming that this was, we had a troop loaded where that was going to be a threat. So maybe like RZM, say we had RZM loaded, this would be a threat. So if we were to barrage that out, we want to make sure we're destroying the building that's touching it. So if we use artillery, so whenever you decide to use artillery on something, make sure you touch it in the spot where you can destroy multiple buildings at the same time. This is going to help you get more gunboat energy back, and it's just a habit you want to get into. Even if there's not a building touching and there's just like a mine next to it, you want to make sure you're getting the mine, because any damage that you can do to a building is damage your troops don't have to do to it, and that's going to help them move through the base quicker. So just small things to keep in mind, but the small things help and they add up over time. Okay, so in this attack you can see I'm using warriors. Ignore the boat of cryoneers, that's for a different video. But in this attack you can see I'm using warriors. When you use warriors, you don't need to artillery, especially when you're on like an NPC base like this one. You can see I start with 83 gunboat energy. For every building that I destroy, I get 3 gunboat energy back. It's only going to take me 2 artillery shells to destroy a building. So it makes sense that if I only have to spend 8 gunboat energy, if I can destroy 3 or more buildings in a row with that attack, then I'm going to get 9 or 12 gunboat energy back from that attack. So I'm profiting gunboat energy, and that helps me in my attack. So you can see I started with 83. By destroying those 4 buildings, I now have 87 gunboat energy, and that's going to help me in my attack, and it's going to allow me to do a little bit more with what I have. In this segment, the point is going to be, don't use too much barrage and artillery. Know your limit. So if we were to use Smoky RZM, which you can see a lot of top players doing that on the leaderboard, we would need to barrage, and I do know I have warriors loaded, so just ignore that, because I know before when I post I'm going to get comments on it. So boom, there we go. So you can see I have 48 gunboat energy remaining. If I was to barrage out one more building, I wouldn't have enough gunboat energy to get to my other threats, because you can see I've got some mortars here, I've got a rocket launcher, a shock launcher, so I'm going to need to at least shock some stuff. Probably 2 shocks would be ideal. You might be able to get away with 1 shock or a critter box or something like that maybe, but let's see this. So we're going to need to smoke about here, there, and then here, and we're going to need the flare there. Then we're going to need to probably shock this stuff and that stuff. Alright, so you can see I had 70 gunboat energy remaining there. That's a real highlight of the fact that with this sort of gunboat energy, you want to be minimizing how much you're spending. And it's also a good idea, if you can afford it, to have a little bit left over to like critters or shock or medkit afterwards, if you need to. So just a point to illustrate in your mind, don't barrage any more than what you really need to get your kill. Okay, so regardless of what troop you're using, a lot of the amateur players, what they do, sometimes whether they're using tank medic or RZM or whatever they're using, they see prototypes as a really big threat, and to be honest, they're right, they are a big threat. But how they decide to deal with them is by doing this. Just barraging a heap of stuff, artillerying. So that destroyed it, but look at how much gunboat energy I just wasted trying to kill that. I wasted nearly 60 gunboat energy trying to kill that, and it actually had a considerable amount of ice on it. But that's my point here in this little bit. Don't barrage or artillery prototype weapons. Regardless of what they are, you're much better off just shocking. You've seen how much gunboat energy I just wasted trying to kill it. If I had shocked it, I could have easily afforded like 4 shock bombs on that, and I could have dealt with it so much better. And by doing that, you can also get other threats that might be nearby, like say this shock launcher or some boom cannons or something like that. But that's my point, you get so much more value out of critters and shocks and things like that. So never barrage prototype weapons. So the point of this attack, guys, is we don't want to be, when we get in range of a flamethrower, we want to medkit just before it starts firing. So that way our riflemen can stay alive a lot longer, and we don't lose so many. So that illustrates the point of that. So I'll just retreat so I don't lose so many troops. And on to the next segment. So this segment is going to illustrate one very clear point. Don't be afraid to fail. Everyone fails at some point or another. Sometimes it's going to be really bad, sometimes it's not going to be so bad. But the point of the matter is, always learn from your mistakes. If you fail, don't be afraid to try that combo again. Try it again and rewatch your replay first and see what did the most damage to you, what you think was the biggest cause of you losing that attack. Can you critter something differently? Can you place a shock bomb differently? Maybe you can smoke your troops somewhere so you can destroy a few key buildings all in one hit. So you just got to learn from your mistakes and keep going, repetition, and you'll get there. Okay, guys. So in this part of the video, I'm going to be discussing what's smart to use against different bases. How a leaderboard player does it is every base is good against something. So you need to be willing to at least change to a different combination, whether you're boosted or unboosted. That's why a lot of the leaderboard players spend a lot of diamonds, because not only do they fail a fair bit on the harder bases, but they switch combos a lot too. And so we look at this base, you can see he doesn't have a shield generator. This makes him extremely vulnerable to warriors. He's running a grappler and a damage amp. This means it's going to be very anti-tank, especially with how he's placed his boom cannons. If we barrage this and this out, because he's grouped them together, we can shock that, and that means we can shock all the threats to like RZM. And if we smoke RZM to like between this gold storage and this sniper tower, they're going to naturally spread out and destroy all of this stuff for us. Actually, we might want to put it between this cannon and this gold storage, just so they spread out a little better for us. But you get the point anyway. So, you always want to use a combo that's good against the base, And just for flattery's sake, we'll check out a different base this time. Again, this guy's using grappler as well, so you can see that this base would be extremely vulnerable to tank medic, actually. Yeah, actually no. We'll say RZM, yeah. Because he's got the grappler, and it has ice, so we're not going to barrage it. His boom cannons are touching, so we can't outrange the HQ. If it was 1 square or 2 squares a little bit to the right, we'd be able to outrange it. But you can see he's got all this free gunboat energy for us up here. This is going to make our life very easy. He's also placed all this stuff down here. This makes it very easy to distract rockets with critters. So all we need to do is flank Hookah or RZM or something up the top, and bam, we can kill it. So hopefully you guys understand the point I'm trying to make there. There's a good combination for every base. Don't be afraid to change. Okay, so I've barraged these 2 threats out. Now we're going to smoke our troops to a spot on the base that we can kill multiple threats to our RZM combo. RZM is very, very vulnerable to mortars, rockets, and shock launchers. As long as you can... Normally, you'll see people grouping up their shock launchers and their rockets in a spot where, when your troops spread out, you can kill multiple buildings at the same time. So, we're going to smoke ours to right there. We're going to place the smokes like that. Don't be afraid to lose some troops. You don't want to lose too many. I placed that one. I wasted a smoke there. That was a bad example. I'm also unboosted, so I don't expect to win this attack with the amount of ice this guy has. So, bam, there we go. So you can see our troops are firing away, and we're gonna have to shock, unfortunately, just because he had so many economy buildings in the back there. And alright. Okay, so in this segment, I'm going to be showing you how to get more value out of a shock. You can see that it takes time for stuff like a cannon like that to take a shot off. So you can actually use the time that it takes before it fires a shot to your advantage, so you don't have to shock it right away. The advantage of something like this is, say you got, I don't know, say you got like tanks like I had, then you don't have to wait for your troops to walk all the way into position and then fire. You know, a lot of amateur players, they shock straight away the moment their troop becomes in range, and they waste so much time out of their shock, and they wind up having to shock a second time in some cases. So you can see that by waiting like that, I get so much more value out of my shock bomb. So now we're going to discuss a topic that's actually probably one of the biggest points amongst this whole video, and that's sacrificial troops. Now, what is that? That's what I call it. Pretty much, you sacrifice a troop, like an entire boat of troops even, just to get a particular thing done. So, in this video, I'm going to show you how to sacrifice one boat of warriors to clear all the mines up the top. Now, this is just one example of it, so we don't have to... The idea here is we don't have to spend GBE to clear the mines. That's the purpose of it. However, there are so many examples of this on the leaderboards and on various high-level strategies. Like, for example, Hookah. You deploy your heavies first, give it like a second or so, then you deploy your Zookas, and you let some of your heavies die, just so you can buy your Zookas time to group up and then start smoking up. And that's how you deploy Smoky Hookah. So you're basically sacrificing an entire boat of heavies just to make sure that you can get up there with cheaper GBE and more Zookas. Right? With Tank Medic, there's also a strategy where you use one boat of riflemen in that. Maybe you've seen that, maybe you haven't, but the idea is you use a boat of riflemen as sort of like a super the most crazy, most powerful critter box you've ever seen. That's pretty much how you use the rifleman in that combination, right? Because it's like 24 riflemen, and you use it to soak up a heap of damage whenever you want in the attack. Maybe it's a beachfront base and you've got a heap of one-shot buildings at the start. That'll buy you some time. Maybe not a great deal of time, but enough time that you can destroy those buildings and you don't have to shock, you don't have to critter, and that allows you to save a lot of GBE. So that's just some examples. Now I'm going to show you one with warriors. Sorry. So the idea here is you can see all of my warriors for that one boat that I deployed have already left the landing craft. Now I'm deploying all my others. This means that entire boat is going to be ahead of everything else. Now you can see there's a lot of mines up here and some shock mines, which shock mines are actually one of the worst parts of this because it groups everything up more, and that'll slow these down, and that's one of the things you don't want to do. I also made the one mistake. I should have smoked a little bit earlier than what I did, and you can see my warriors are taking a bit of damage along the way. That was extremely bad. But anyway, you can see I've lost a couple of warriors. You can see that a fair bit of them got damaged. That was more a result of letting them take up the damage from before. But you can see out of all of those mines and exactly how much there is, all I needed to spend to get there was 6 GBE. I didn't have to use any artillery shots. Like 2 artillery shots even would have cost me 8 GBE. A barrage would have cost me 10. To get up there, I've lost one boat of riflemen. One boat of warriors, and I only had to spend 6 GBE to get there. Now, of course, there's still some mines here. Maybe I could have barraged that out, or I can just cop the damage on the chin. Whatever it may be, that's a pretty good indication as to the point I was trying to make. Sacrificing troops, although some people won't be willing to do that, it is a really great way to use a lot less GBE, and it's something that all the big players do. Okay, so now we're going to be discussing how to distract stuff with critters. So, when your troops are under smoke, you need to make sure that not only do you deploy the critters, but the critters spread out and are on the field before the smoke runs out. That way, stuff like shock launchers here, and this one here. Why isn't it working? There we go. There we go. So yeah, stuff like the shock launchers have something to target before your troops come out of the smoke. How well you can time it, I mean, it really depends on you, but by giving them something else to target, we give our troops an extra 5 seconds breathing time before those shock launchers are going to look at my warriors up here and start targeting them. So 5 seconds is a really big amount of time and you can see that this is just with warriors. So you can see here the critters are down on that damage amplifier. The shock launchers have targeted it. They're fired, and you can see it fired there. Unfortunately, they died off before that second one could get its shot off, and that was just because I timed it a tad too early. But that still gives you a pretty good idea of the fact that now I have this shock launcher isn't going to target my warriors for another 5 seconds. Now this same principle applies for Smoky RZM and various other strategies like that. So it's extremely useful. Okay, so now I'm going to hopefully show you guys how to successfully distract a shock launcher. So the idea here is you want to place the critters so they're down on the field before it takes a shot at your units. Because once it shoots at your units, at that point it starts to look for its next target. And if your critters aren't on the field yet, it's going to target something else, so that when the critters actually drop and are down on the field, you've essentially just wasted a heap of GBE. A heap of GBE. because all that entire critter box is essentially wasted. And of course, this goes for like boom cannons and every other defense as well. But I'm just going to use the shock launcher as an example. The mines around all over the place is probably a bad thing. I'm going to place that down now. It seems that I got it before my troops came in range, so that still at least gives you guys an example of what I was talking about. So now it's going to fire at my troops if it ever decides to fire. It didn't. But that still gives you the point though, like if the critters are down on the field ahead of time, then you get the, you keep it distracted. Okay guys, so that's been a guide. I really hope you've enjoyed it. In that last example with the critters, I was hoping to get a failed example first, and then do a successful attempt. But it seems I was a little too good. Oh, my timing was a little too perfect for my own good, apparently. But I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I hope I've at least taught you something on how to play with Less GBE. This guide actually came at the request of another user. I don't remember his username, but I was booming with him while I was at a task force named Crooked Smoke. I did a lot of my bottleneck unboosted solos there, and the group actually wound up closing down towards the end of my time there. The leader wound up leaving and closing his group down, so that was unfortunate. But the viewer actually asked for this and was like, I don't know how you boom with so little GBE, only 2 statues. I need 5, sometimes even 6 to do my map clears, and he wanted to know how to do it. So hopefully there's a few more people out there that would like to see this and would like to know some of these things. Anyway, I hope it's been helpful. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next one.